in this video we are going to see how we can include and exclude any test cases if we don't want to execute them in our automation framework. So there can be some situation where like we want to only execute certain test cases, and there can be some situation where we don't want to execute some test cases. So just let us go and see the test cases that we have written. So here I have written two test cases which is in the my first TestNG program, and we also have two test cases here. So this was already there and I just added this test case. So what particularly this test case is doing, it is just finding the list of web elements. So if I go on the Myntra page, it is finding the list of web element which is here, and it is just storing them in a list. So I'm just printing these things here so you can see. And after that what it is doing, it is just asserting that if all the from the list of elements that we have got, we are converting it to string, and then we are just validating if it is there or not. So it will if it is not there, it will return a boolean value false, and if it is there, it will return a boolean value true, and then our test cases will pass. So these are the test cases that are there for contact us page. So now let us go and see how we can use include and exclude. So I'm just going here and you see I already have this TestNG XML. I will just copy this TestNG XML and I will name it as 1. Now in this TestNG 1.xml we are having some test cases, right? So in this class there are two test cases, and in this class there are two test cases. Now say for example I want to include some test cases from here. Maybe there are n number of test cases and I only want to execute some particular test case. So in that situation what I will do, I will just create one methods attribute, and this method attributes what it is going to do, this is going to execute the test which only I want to execute. So now we have created the methods tags, and in the methods tag what we are going to do, we are just going to add include, and we are going to include the test cases that we want to execute, and the name of the test case will be, we are just going to store it like this. So this is the include tag, and now which test case I want to include in this my first ng test program. So I will just go here and I will just copy the name of the test which I want to include. So say for example I want to include this test case, right? So I will just copy it and I will go here and I will paste it here. So now if I am going to run, it is only going to execute this thing. Similarly, say for example there are 100 test cases, and you cannot just write 100 include name, right? It will be very tedious. Like if you want to, out of 100 test cases you want to include 50, so maybe if you want to include 90 test cases or 98 test cases, it will become very difficult to add all those methods and then you write that include this test case, this test case. So in that case what you can do, you can just use something like exclude. So in order to exclude the test from running, what you can do, you can just use methods, and in this methods you are going to create a tag which is going to say exclude, and after excluding you are going to give the name. And what is going to be the name, you are just going to keep it here, and we are going to close the exclude tag. And here if I go in this contact us page test and say for example I want to exclude this test, so I will just copy the name of the test which I want to exclude, and I will go here and I will just paste. So a very simple concept. We are having a suite. In the suite we are having some tests, and then the classes. So these are the opening classes attributes and closing classes attributes, and in those classes we are having some class. which is having some tests. So in those tests we are having methods, right? So we want to include this method, and similarly in those methods I want to exclude this method. So now let us go and run and see if it is working fine or not. So I will just try to run it. So this is the TestNG XML and I will run it. So I started the Chrome browser. It is executing the first test case, and now it is executing the second test case. So here we can see that we included validate wishlist text with soft assertion. It executed this thing, and again here we excluded this thing, right, in the contact us page test. So it excluded this text, and what it executed, if we go here we can see it executed this test which is here. So similarly you can just define whatever test case you want to include, or maybe whatever test case you want to exclude, you can define in the TestNg XML, and you can run your automation test. So let us meet in the next video. Thank you.